Hello, Earthlings. Welcome to First Contact Radio. How you doing today? Josh Poet with you here. Alright, let's start things off with our cosmic weather. That starts us off at spaceweather.com so we can see what's going on there. Our solar wind is 431.0 kilometers per second at the moment. Our planetary K-index is back down to quiet at a 1, expected to be no higher than a 3 over the next 24 hours. Our chance for an M-class flare is only at 10% chance, and an X-class flare only about a 1% chance. Geomagnetic storm activity is really no higher, 10% at mid-latitudes and 15% at higher latitudes. Now, if we go back up to look here, just a reminder, we've got the story about the planets that are out, Venus and Jupiter, how you'll be able to see them, and how they are moving closer together, starting from a position at about 20 degrees apart and moving to a point where they're going to be at 3 degrees apart. And that's going to be going on between now and the 13th of March. Now, solar eclipse-wise, today the new moon passed in front of our sun, off-center, producing a partial solar eclipse. The only place to see it was from space. NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory, SDO, sends this picture from geosynchronous orbit approximately 30,000 kilometers above Earth's surface. Alright, very nice. Interesting image right there. Sun with a nice little chunk taken out of it. Okay, now, astrologically, planet and star-wise, we are dealing with the sun sign of Pisces. We started there the other day, and it's going to be there now for the next month. Pisces is a water sign. The symbol is the fish, two fish that swim in opposite directions. Being water, remember water is about emotions, feelings, the way things flow or move. And the two fish represent movement in different directions. Could be a sense of indecisiveness that goes along with it. So one of the things to focus on during this period of time of Pisces is decision making. How you're making your decision. Make sure you're not going back or forth, that you're not being counterproductive with the way that you are maneuvering. And then when we go ahead and we take a look at the moon signs, the moon has gone from Aquarius into Pisces. So now we have the moon is in Pisces as well. And it's a new moon in Pisces. So with the moon in Pisces and a sun in Pisces, we've got both the conscious and the unconscious minds are dealing with a lot of emotions, a lot of decisions that could be cloudy. But there is a new opportunity with a new moon to make better decisions by being clear, and that's the important part, to remain clear as best as possible so you can make good decisions. Now you can see here the current moon phase is a new moon. We're at 0%. It's going to make its way up starting from today onward up to a full moon. But right now today's a new moon, and on new moons it's an opportunity to start something fresh. A fresh opportunity to begin something new and kind of evolve. If you move with the cycles of the moon, that's a good way to go. It's kind of like as the moon goes up, and you work with the cycles as it goes up, and then as it goes down, you work with it another way. Kind of like you're on the waves, learning how to surf on the waves, moving with the rhythms. On the Dream Spell calendar, we are in the 8th position today, signified right down here as the 8th position on our 13 position wave spell. The kin for today, right in the middle here, is called the seed. The guide for today is the star. And then the supporting kin around it are the wizard, the earth, and the eagle. The tone for today is tone number 8. And the symbol, or the phrase for today, I harmonize in order to target modeling awareness. I seal the input of flowering with the galactic tone of integrity. I am guided by the power of elegance. And on the Gregorian calendar, it is Tuesday, February 21st, 2012. Alright, that catches you up with what's going on at the moment. I'm going to start things off our very first spot of the day. Now this is a long spot. It's actually an hour and a half long. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'm going to play for you maybe about 10 minutes worth. This is Susan Lindauer, CIA whistleblower, and she talks about 9/11. I'm going to play enough just to kind of pique your interest, but the link is available at the site. All you have to do is you go to firstcontactradio.com. On the right-hand side, you'll see the links. It says Daily News. Click on that Daily News there, and you'll see the link. It's the top one up there on the list. All right? Let me jump to this. Get us going for today. All right. And without further ado,
Well, I have to say, I am so pleased to be here. I have waited 10 years to tell this story. I remember after 9/11 when my CIA handler, Richard Fuse, told me that there really wasn't going to be much of a 9/11 investigation. And we were going to try to keep the people calm. That's what he said. We're going to keep them calm. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, we don't really need them to know everything that we were doing before 9/11. And I said, well, why? What do you think think's going to happen when they find out that you didn't tell them the truth? Why don't you just tell them the truth right now? And he said, well, that's not really what they want to do. So I had, I had different ideas. I will tell you straight off the bat that right after 9/11, my CIA handler received a $13 million payoff from the 9/11 investigation that was supposed to be money used for the Iraqi, to secure Iraq's cooperation. And I ended up getting indicted on the Patriot Act. I was the second non-Arab American ever indicted on the Patriot Act after Jose Padilla. And my crime was in opposing terrorism and going to Congress, and I had spoken to the staff of Senator John McCain and Senator Trent Lott, and I had pounded them. I called their chiefs of staff, their legislative directors, and their foreign policy people, and I said, I'm an asset who covered Iraq and Libya at the United Nations, and I have a story to tell, and you need to hear what I have to say. And within 30 days, I am not making this up, this is actually, thanks to the Patriot Act, all of my phone calls to these offices are taped by the FBI, so I can actually prove that they occurred. And I have the dates, I have the actual phone conversations on tape. And within 30 days of those conversations, I woke up to hear the FBI pounding at my door, and I got up out of bed and I looked out the window, and there are men in flak jackets in my porch. And I opened the door, and they come into my house, and they're like, Ms. Susan, and the FBI agent is shaking. He's shaking. And he said, you are Susan Lindauer, you are hereby notified, you are under arrest on the Patriot Act. And I said, what? You have the right to remain silent, anything you say, et cetera, et cetera. He read me my Miranda rights, and I was just like, what are you talking about? I'm making coffee. You know, I'm not a bank robber, I'm not a drug dealer, I'm not a murderer. I haven't broken any laws that I can think of, and I have no idea what you say that I've done. He said, well, your attorney will explain it to you later on. Okay? Okay. That began a 5-year indictment, 5-year nightmare on the Patriot Act. I was never taken to trial. In 5 years, I was allowed 1 morning of testimony with 2 witnesses. The 2 witnesses were a former chief of staff for a congressional member of Congress, and my old friend Park Godfrey, who verified the 9/11 warnings that I'm going to talk about tonight. And I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to let you guys ask a lot of questions, and I know you're going to have a lot of questions. I'm going to do my best to answer as honestly as I can. I do not have all the answers, but I will tell you up front that I believe there was both the hijackings, and that does not mean that I'm right and you're wrong. I believe there were both hijackings and a controlled demolition scenario, and I'll explain to you how the whole thing fits together. And you may disagree, and that's okay if you disagree with me. But I can tell you, but when you hear what I have to say, you'll understand why I've reached this conclusion. So I believe both of them happened, okay? And it's also very important for you to know that as the 10-year anniversary of 9/11 comes up, I mean, no offense, but you guys have no idea what actually happened. This is like the lies are so much bigger than what you know. And it's so much deeper, and it's so much more tragic once you have the truth. So on that note, let me just take you to, I'm actually going to start, I'm going to move you a little bit ahead to remember when George Bush they were counting the votes in Florida. Okay? I'm going to take you back to November of 2000. They had not yet declared that George Bush had won the election. I was having meetings with the full knowledge and permission of the CIA with Iraq's ambassador to the United Nations on resuming the weapons inspections. It is very important for you to understand that this story with 9/11 also ties in deeply to what happened with Iraq. And contrary to everything you were told, the Iraqis were not resistant to weapons inspections. They had a comprehensive agenda. The CIA had already a comprehensive agenda for resolving the entire conflict without war at all. And it involved weapons inspections, cooperation with anti-terrorism, and major financial contracts for U.S. corporations, and oil. And this would be developed over a period of time. But we already had, by November of 2000, we already had an agreement with the Iraqi government. We had a framework agreement that was, at that point, it was undefined, not so well defined, and we had to make it defined. But they had already consented to all of these things. They wanted peace with us. And so by February of 2001, the Iraqis had agreed to invite the FBI to send a task force into Baghdad with authorization to conduct terrorism investigations and to make arrests of terror suspects. This is very important for you to understand. So this is like the background of what you have to know. Okay. In April of 2001, I was summoned to this is already happening. The Comprehensive Peace Framework, those discussions are already underway. And I am, at this point, the chief asset covering the Iraqi embassy and the Libya house, both of them, I do both of them, and Yemen and Syria and Egypt and Malaysia. But Iraq and Libya are my primary countries. And so I'm a back channel, which means that the U.S. government gives me messages to give the Iraqis, and then the Iraqis give me messages to give to Washington. So I know everything. Every single conversation is going through me. And I can tell you that in April of 2001, I was summoned to my CIA handler, Dr. Richard Fuse, and he said he had a message for me to deliver to New York at the earliest possible convenience. And the message was this: we are looking for information on a conspiracy to hijack airplanes. We expect the target to be the World Trade Center. We think they're going to fly the airplanes into the World Trade Center. And we want the Iraqis to provide it's called actionable intelligence. Actionable intelligence is a name, an airport hub, a flight number, something that's going to help us identify who they are, where they're meeting, what their nationalities are, anything like this. And he gives me a message, and he says, we want this information, and I want you to tell the Iraqis that if they fail to give us this information, and if it is later determined that they knew the information and they did not give it to us, then the United States is prepared to go to war with Iraq. Okay, this is April of 2001. Well, I went up to New York, and we were in the middle of these great negotiations. We already had an invitation. From February of 2001, we have an invitation for the FBI to come to Baghdad. So I go up to New York. I'm very pleasant. I'm very polite. There's no reason to be nasty with these people. They want peace. I say, hey, Could you please send a message to Baghdad? We'd like this information. If you come across anything, Saddam had been one of our best sources on terrorism throughout the 1990s. Iraq hated terrorism because they believed that they hated Islamic jihadis. He did. Whether you like Saddam or not, whether you hate Saddam or not, he hated Islamic conservatives. He was convinced that they would take advantage of the crumbling of authority in Baghdad under the sanctions, and that they would then try to overturn his government, and the poverty of the people from the sanctions would fuel this problem, would help overturn his government. So he wanted to help us at every turn keep these people from becoming too powerful. Okay, and so we knew this. So when I go to New York in April of 2001, I'm very friendly, and I say, hey, look, could you send the message to Baghdad? Let them know we're looking for this. Thanks. And the message from the Iraqis in April of 2001 is, hey, send the FBI. We've already agreed to send we've already invited you to send the FBI. Come on. Tell them, just bring them on. Sure. Wow, you didn't know that, did you? Okay, so I go back to Washington, and I get a phone call from Richard. He said, come down to my office. I want to hear what they said. I go down, I said, oh, I was real polite. Yeah, I gave him the message, sure. He said, I didn't tell you to be nice. I told you to tell those, this is going to be on television, right? This is going to be like, okay, well, I'll soft pedal what he said. He was like, you go back to, you stupid goddamn blankety. I told you to tell those SOB MFers, God, GD, blah, 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 screaming, circling me around his conference. I'll never forget it. Circling his conference desk, ranting and raving, waving his arms around. He didn't do that very often. He does not have that kind of personality. He's a very calm man, and he feels that if you're really angry at somebody, then the more calm you are, the more dangerous you are. That's CIA. He's old school CIA. Okay, so he's screaming now. And I go back, he's like, you go back to New York and you deliver the message exactly the way that I told you to deliver the message. And I said, well, Richard, I don't want them to think I'm threatening them because, I believe in like negotiations and conflict resolution. He said, no, I don't want them to think you are threatening them. And he said, I don't want them to think I am threatening them. I want you to tell them this threat of war originates at the highest level of government, above the CIA director and above the Secretary of State. That it would be three men: President George Bush, Vice President Dick Cheney, and Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld, and no one else.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. This is Josh, and this is the UFO News. All right, let's go on to our first story here. First story, that's our last story. First story, UFO filmed over Stirling, UK, February 18th. This unidentified flying object was recorded in the sky above Stirling City in Scotland on Saturday the 18th of February 2012. Witness report, filmed the object moving through the clouds. I seen it the other day flying by. Never had my camera, but managed to get it on the film today. White object must be quite big, being in the clouds. I had my camcorder converted to infrared. All right. So let's see what was seen here. All right, there you go. All right, Brian McPhee, Stirling UFOs. And here we go. Okay. There we go. You can see the white object up there. It's moving pretty good. All right, you can see it over up here. All right. So we've seen these kind before. Small white. It's moving. We see these all the time. Okay, that's sighting number one. Let's move on from there. Next story, UFO sightings. Shift to waterborne life form that's not of this world, says locals. This comes to us from Ray Point. just as strange metal boxes started appearing and then disappearing after UFO sightings 2 weeks ago, now a waterborne life form has appeared. Just as hanging clouds made a soft snapping sounds in the cool breeze that blows in off the Pacific Ocean here at Brays Point on a foggy February 19th afternoon, so too could one hear something like bird calls breaking the quiet on a still forest pool of water near the popular UFO sighting location. We followed the sound until its frequency started to pluck our nerves. We stopped and then looked down into the pond where these endless cries of something or someone inside our ears or minds. Each time we return to the pond, there's something down there that we just can't reach or understand. Its acoustics are out of this world. For sure, quipped local Errol, who said, I didn't want to mention this after those boxes, but there's been a ceaseless hum of something under the water for nearly a month now. In turn, Errol said the consensus is, don't disturb it. Leave it alone. What's with Bray and strange stuff? Well, drumming his nails on the kitchen table that looks out at the mighty Pacific Ocean, Errol starts making his noise like pigeons' feet on the roof. He then explains that's sort of how it sounds in the evening when you approach the pond. It's not unlike when you hear those frogs during the early springtime, but this is very different because all those strange stuff started happening after those UFO sightings 2 weeks ago. Errol was reminded that several types of strange metal boxes have now been examined, with the official theory being that they are simply pieces of docks that have broken away last March when the earthquake hit Japan. Meanwhile, Errol explains, I've never seen a dock look like what we've had on the beaches. Later, he does concede that not all the strange stuff going on at Brays Point has to do with UFOs. This is ancient plot, and the land the Native American tribes lived back hundreds of years and even thousands of years. He adds, while admitting that even as a long-time UFO watcher, he still feels creepy when outside at Brays Point when the night shadows play tricks with your minds. Alright, so you can see there's more to the story, a bunch more. The link is available for you to find out exactly where this goes. Now, moving right along, our next story comes to us from the Examiner and Tracy Pierce. Black triangle UFO with red lights caught on security camera footage. A black triangle UFO with 3 red lights on its underscore was recorded on security camera footage on February 19, 2012. The video was recorded at night, and there is no movement on the footage over the movement of the UFO as it slowly moved across the sky. The security camera footage seems to be from the warehouse or trucking company because the UFO video shows trucks and trailers lined up behind a large building with multiple doors. The security camera footage was posted online by a prolific YouTube user called Destination Unknown. They offer very little in the way of explanation for the video, leaving the 50 seconds of UFO footage to speak for itself. We're going to take a look at that right now and see how this footage speaks to us. Alright. There we go. It's not a very long video, about 1 minute and 11 seconds. And there we go. Okay, this is the object in question. As you can see, it's slowly moving. This is said to have been caught on video camera, security camera. Alright. Slow black triangle. We've all seen these before. Certainly not an airplane that we know of, but we do know that the government and the military does have these sort of planes. Alright, moving right along. Our next story comes to us from Roger Marsh at the UFO Examiner. Triangle UFO reported hovering near Mounds View water tower. A Minnesota woman reports encountering a large black triangle hovering at 500 feet while driving along Country Highway 10 in Mounds View on February 17, 2012, according to testimony from the Mutual UFO Network Witness Reporting Database. I saw lights that seemed quite close to the ground, the witness stated. I told my daughter, kind of jokingly, look at the UFO. Since they had also keep an eye on the road, she said, no, that's the top of the water tower in Mounds View. I said, no, we were still at least 5 blocks from the water tower. But as they passed the water tower, the woman took another look. It was a huge black triangle with lights only on one angle. It seemed to be tilted and hovering in one spot, not moving. The woman decided to circle back in an attempt to have a second look at the object. As we got to the next block where we could take a left to head in that direction, we lost it in the tree line. Let's take a look at what was seen here. Alright, this is They don't have an image of it, but this is the area where they say they saw it. All right. There you go. Very exciting indeed. Moving along. Next story. Alien base captured by Chang'e 2's orbiter video. Well, China officially released the world's first alien building photos on the moon, in turn going down in history as the greatest scientific discovery ever. If this report is true and the structure on the moon in this photo is similar to many that I myself have seen, then that means that the Chinese are now aware that aliens exist, and they have probably been in contact with these aliens already. That would explain why so many radio telescopes are searching for signals from aliens and more being built as we speak. Yet no reported signals from aliens were reported to the public. Check out this report below. I was sent some pictures by a source who claims China will be releasing high-res images taken over Chang'e 2 moon's orbiter, which clearly shows buildings and structures on the moon's surface. He also claims NASA has deliberately bombed important areas in the moon in an effort to destroy ancient artifacts and facilities. Pictures yet to be released clearly show nuclear impact craters and building debris caused by explosions in an effort by NASA to destroy the truth. China is moving towards full disclosure of an extraterrestrial reality. If these images and future ones are verified genuine, then NASA should be investigated for fraud and treason. China will be releasing all the data and images from the Chang'e 2 in the coming weeks and months. Let's hope this is the beginning of a new era. Let's take a look at this right here. Okay, now I'm going to move ahead here. This is the area we're going to zoom into. Okay, notice these images there. And you tell me, do those look like natural objects? Or does this look a little bit more man-made? Look at this one here, the way that the angles are. And then you've got another angled one here. Obviously, these are some sort of structures. All right. And you can see this is some sort of a building here. Buildings here. All right. Now, as I tweak the filters a little bit to see, you can definitely see these images are there. If this was a picture taken of Earth, you would definitely not have a problem knowing that these are buildings. There you go, even better. Alright, so something's going on the moon. Now the thing that's quite troubling is the talk about how NASA was doing some bombing up on the moon. What were they bombing? They were just bombing these structures? Were they NASA's structures? Were they bombing their own? And if they weren't bombing their own, who were they bombing? And if they were bombing somebody that wasn't their own, can we say that NASA has begun war off of this planet? Is that possible, that the United States has actually gone and created war outside of this Earth? And if so, could that really tick off any of the ETs out there? I would think so. Very interesting indeed. Something to consider. And this last one here, I want you to take a look at this one, see what you think. This one may or may not be real. This supposedly is in New Mexico. You can see the large ship there. And as we go across, there it is. Now, as it gets to the end of the video here, I'm going to move ahead. This thing starts to land. And as it does, notice that thing right there. That looks exactly like the same sort of insignia we see from the United States Air Force. So, quite possibly, this is a U.S. Air Force vehicle we're looking at right here. Not a UFO belonging to someone off planet, but to the military on planet. So there you have it. That's our UFO news for today. Jump away to a song. I'll be right back. Stay tuned.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
All right, I'm back. All right, continuing on our first story now, or our next story. It's about Ron Paul. Yesterday was a march. The march for Ron Paul by the veterans and the active duty military. Now I'm going to play 3 stories, 3 clips from that event. It was quite a fascinating event to watch. I watched the whole thing, and it was very, very, very insightful to see these men and women out there taking part in this protest, marching, to see these veterans and active duty troops marching through the streets of Washington, chanting, "End the Fed, stop the war, Ron Paul, President Paul." To hear all of this was very inspirational. And, you know, I myself have never been in the military, but I did go on a number of times as part of like a USO type tours to military bases to perform for the troops. And I did meet and know firsthand that there are many good men and women that are out there. And this just, you know, confirmed that over and over again. Just seeing the men and women that are out there. And then the responses from those online who could not make it to the event. You know, a lot of support. Of course, the mainstream media didn't capture any of this because they don't want you to know that this event actually took place. So I'm going to play these clips for you. This first one is the troops marching and listening to them chant. Here we go.
President Paul! 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 Paul! That's it. Paul! President Paul! President Paul! Paul! President Paul! President Paul! President Paul!
something really special happened in America yesterday, folks. Something really special happened. And there's not a lot of network coverage from this, as you could imagine, because they don't want you to know. Now, one of the stations that did cover it is RT. And let's listen to what they had to say.
Consistently strong anti-war message. Consistently strong anti-war message.
We don't need another war. Understood, and you make that point quite a lot.
Is one that resonates with many U.S. troops today.
I don't believe that we should be over in these other countries messing around.
He wants to close the 900 overseas bases that we are funding at a very expensive and growingly more expensive rate there that is bankrupting this country.
Well, hundreds of active duty troops, veterans, and their families are gathered here by the Washington Monument. They'll be marching to the White House to show their solidarity and support for Republican presidential candidate Ron Paul. Often ignored.
They deserve more than one mention on all the stations. Somebody went and added these all up.
Thank you,
so what's going on here? You're in this media business.
How did Libertarian Ron Paul become the 13th floor in a hotel?
When his message isn't being cut off.
Well, I think it would be even more dangerous to start nitpicking wars with other countries. Someone like Iran, Israel is more than capable of.
All right, we just lost our connection, unfortunately.
The mainstream media would have you believe the military doesn't back Paul.
The top three contributors are the Air Force, the Army, and the Navy. And, compare that to somebody like Mitt Romney, whose top donations are like Goldman Sachs.
In fact, Paul gets far more campaign donations from members of the military than any other presidential candidate.
Ron Paul seems to be the only person that's representing us instead of the defense contractors and bankers.
The danger is really us overreacting, and we need a strong national defense, and we need to only go to war with a declaration of war and just carelessly flouting it and starting these wars so often. President!
Sick of fighting seemingly never-ending wars overseas, these soldiers are ready for radical change, and the only hope for that, they say, is getting Paul into the White House. In Washington, Liz Wall, RT.
All right, I think the troops definitely deserve to be listened to because they're the ones being put out on the front lines by the warmongers in Washington that are putting them there. You notice the warmongers aren't going out there. Obama's not going out to the front lines. He'll certainly call and say go to war illegally, but you don't see him grabbing a gun and going out there. Oh, no. He wouldn't dare do that. He'd rather go on vacation than go and actually get involved with something like that or some of the other politicians that are in office. So we need to listen to the troops because they're understanding something. And the American people need to listen to the troops because guess what? If you got kids, sons and daughters that are of the age to go to the military, guess where they may end up going? If things get really dicey, let's say a draft is put back into effect. I don't know that that could be the case, but let's say things really escalate. Your child could be somebody that could be sent overseas. So we need to listen to what the troops have to say. There's some wisdom there, and it's unfortunate that the mainstream media is so bloodthirsty that all they want to do is go out and kill. Kill, kill, kill. Yet the soldiers who have been there in the midst of it, they don't want to be killing. They want to be coming home. So let's listen before it's too late. Now, this next story here comes to us from RT as well. It says Iran is already a nuclear power. And the thing that's interesting about this is you're going to see at about the 15 seconds into this, you're going to see a UFO fly across the screen. So check this out.
Let's discuss this now with Sadek Zebakalam. He's Professor of Political Science at the University of Tehran. What are the chances that Israel will defy Washington and London and attack Iran?
Well, I personally believe that it is very
right in the background there. There you go. Watch it fly across.
Unlikely because Iran is not Iraq and Iran is not Lebanon, Hezbollah, Iran is not Hamas. And I don't think that playing with fire would be something that Israeli will be very serious about it, because let us conceive that there is a military strike by Tel Aviv against Iranian nuclear site. Well, do they expect that Iran will sit back and say that why did you do that? No, I think that the response from Iran would be very powerful and very severe.
Israel is being serious, though, with its rhetoric, isn't it? But there is actually no proof at the moment that Iran is developing nuclear weapons. So why is Israel stepping up its threats?
Well, I don't know. Perhaps partly Israel is trying to as it were, to prevent Iran from becoming a nuclear power. Perhaps the Israelis think that once Iran has managed to acquire the technology of uranium enrichment, Iran can develop an atomic weapon within the 6 months to 12 months, whenever that Iran desires. So perhaps Israelis are thinking that a preemptive strike against Iranian nuclear facilities will prevent Iran from becoming a nuclear power. But the point is that Iran has already has become a nuclear power. And even if you destroy all Iran's nuclear...
But does Iran want to become a nuclear power in terms of having a nuclear weapon?
No, because Iran knows that nobody can use an atomic weapon. I mean, imagine that Iran has a nuclear atomic bomb. What is the good of that? What is the point of that? Which country can we contemplate that Iran will use her atomic bomb?
You make a persuasive argument, but it's been reported that the UN team, which is now in Iran, won't actually inspect the country's nuclear sites. They didn't even visit them during their trip in January either. So what is the point of these visits then? Surely Tehran's not going to benefit from these visits, will it? Because it's not likely to allay any of those suspicions that Tehran is indeed trying to develop a nuclear weapon.
As far as I am aware, IAEA inspectors, they have searched every nook and every corner of Iran nuclear facilities. The point is that every now and then they say that we want to go there, we want to go here, and we want to inspect that place, and we want to inspect this place. Now, the point is that those places are not within the jurisdiction of International Atomic Agency. They are not part of Iran's nuclear sites.
Sadegh Zibakalam, Professor of Political Science at the University of Tehran. Great to talk to you. Thank you for your time there.
All right, very good. So just remember the first story that you did tonight and how you heard from the whistleblower that there wasn't any of the problems that were going on in Iraq, that they were willing to allow the inspections to take place. So we were told other things here in the States, so if that was a lie, chances are this could be a lie too. All right, now, last things to look at here, earthquakes. There was some earthquakes I want you to be aware of here. This one right here, 4.0, southeastern Missouri. Southeastern Missouri, all right? Now, we got a story that goes along with this here. And it says 4.0 magnitude earthquake near East Prairie. East Prairie, Missouri, the Center for Earthquake and Research Information in Memphis reports a 4.0 magnitude earthquake 5 miles north-northwest of East Prairie, Missouri at 3:58 a.m. It was 3.1 miles deep. The earthquake was also 12 miles east-northeast of Matthews and 13 miles south-southeast of Blodgett, which is 36.850 degrees north, 89.409 degrees west. Amy Vaughn, a geophysicist with the USGS National Earthquake Center at Golden, Colorado, says they located the earthquake around Siskiston and Charleston. She says they've had a large number of felt reports indicating it was widely felt regionally and felt even hundreds of kilometers away. Vaughn says it is considered a light earthquake and maybe some minor damage possible with things falling off walls and maybe some cracks. Viewers have reported cracks in the walls and things falling off the walls. There have been no major reports of damage. Now here is what I want you to see a little more clearly. This is where it took place. Guess right where this is, folks. Okay, guess where this is. New Madrid. Can you say New Madrid? That's right, this is in that area, the New Madrid. Remember all the stories that we did last summer about the floods that were taking place along the New Madrid and the concerns that there might be some earthquakes? Remember that first city where the levees, all of these things, guess what? All in these areas right there. So the question is there movement starting to occur down in the New Madrid area? Was that simply a single quake that is by itself and there aren't going to be any others? Or is this the beginning of something, part of something a smaller one that will lead to something much larger? We don't know, but usually these things don't just come in single quakes. Usually they're in packs of them. So I think we need to keep an eye on that, see if there's any kind of movement down there. There's also have been reports of FEMA activity down in that area. Reports that FEMA agents were going down there in advance of that quake to prepare and do some sort of activity. So if you check the forums, do searches for New Madrid, FEMA, kind of see what they're up to, and see what you can find out any further on that. But that's what's going on at the moment. All right, very last thing we're going to do today, as always, is our meditation. Our prayer and our meditation for the night, so what I'd like, or for the day. So let's go ahead and close your eyes. Relax. All right, I'd like you to imagine that it is a beautiful sunny day. You are seated in the middle of a large field. You look up to the sky. You're aware of the new moon and aware of an opportunity to begin something new, something fresh. So you use this new moon energy to begin down the path. And as you walk down this new path, you feel the weight of all the past disappointments or challenges or frustrations drop off as you continue to move forward with a new, refreshed energy. And as the day turns from day to night, as you look up into the sky at the place where the moon is, even though you cannot see because it is in the dark phase, you realize that it is there shining bright, representing a new birth, a new beginning, a seed planted, an opportunity. Take a moment to use this new moon energy to set forth a plan. So imagine all of our chakras are activated, starting with the chakra at the bottom of the spine. Color is red. Bring the energy up to the chakra above it at the belly button. Imagine the color orange. From there, raise the energy up higher to the chakra below the rib cage. Imagine the color yellow. From there, raise the energy up higher to the heart. Imagine the color green. From the heart chakra, raise the energy up to the throat. Imagine the color blue. From the blue throat chakra, raise the energy up between the two eyebrows Imagine the color violet, and finally to the top of the head. Crown chakra, imagine the color indigo, and the light continues on. Take a moment to honor your connection to all that is, was, and ever shall be. Let's send love all around the planet. Let's think a good thought for everybody around the world, and let's just send the idea around that today will be a day of clarity. That today will be a day that we will wipe away our fears. We will step beyond our doubts, and we'll see clearly what is before us. Let's hold that thought in our mind, thinking good thoughts for everyone in the world today, and bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. And there you have it. Another show, another prayer, another meditation. Thanks for being here. It's a pleasure as always. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. Just keep paying attention out there, my friends. That's the most important thing. Pay attention. Things are changing. We need to be on guard to be able to move with the changes that are in front of us. I'll be back tomorrow. Talk to you soon. Have a great day. Be safe. Peace. I'm out of here.